Character design. It is an imperative part of any form of media. No matter what work of art you are making, you must have unique and interesting character design that not only fits within the world you are making and the tone you are going for, but also is appealing to the audience so they can resonate with the world even more. A character design must be easily recognizable from a simple glance, it must be unique to stand out from the crowd, and extremely expressive so you can get as much mileage out of that character design as possible. A good way to tell whether a character design works is to make your character a silhouette and see whether or not they are still recognizable. There are countless fantastic character designs that check all the boxes mentioned earlier and create a truly memorable design that is easily recognizable across the world. However, there is one franchise within media that constantly changes the design of the characters with each entry, yet each design still works and are recognizable in their own unique ways. The franchise in question is The Legend of Zelda. The Legend of Zelda series constantly changes tone and style with each entry, yet never feels like it's too overbearing or like the developers are changing the style just because they want to. Each game goes for their own unique tone and style, and no character within this series represents this better than the main character, Link. In this documentary, we will look at Link's character design of a variety of Zelda games over the years, and we will see exactly what within the designs works, and how they show the tone and style each game wants to go for. So, let's examine the designs of Link. This is the design of Link in the very first Legend of Zelda game. As you can see, it is sort of difficult to entirely understand exactly what he is supposed to look like, but that's because of the limitations of the hardware. Thankfully, we can get a good look at what the developers want Link to officially look like with the Japanese box art, the manual and marketing, so here it is. As you can see, the design is very basic, but does lay the groundwork for most future Link designs going forward, featuring his most iconic attributes like the green tunic and hat. However, because this design is based on a very basic 2D sprite, there was not a lot the illustrators could go off of, but I think they made the most out of what they had. The next major entry I will talk about is Ocarina of Time, which actually has two variations of a Link design. One which is a child, as with previous games in the franchise, and another which is much older. The young Link design is reminiscent of the design from the original Legend of Zelda game, maybe to draw in people who have only played that entry into this new era of Zelda, but it also carries an aura of charm and wistfulness which encapsulates the tone of that part of the game. Adult Link, on the other hand, is a much more serious design, representing the drab world you explore, and overall dark concepts you come across, such as a literal torture chamber. Now, this is a very good design which works very well with the game, however it can be strangely inconsistent. What I mean by this is, details from various art pieces like this baldric both designs have, are lost in translation to the models in-game. Whilst this could be due to hardware limitations, the sequels to this game, Majora's Mask, fixes this by giving young Link a baldric within the models of the game, but Adult Link does not appear, so there's no model of Adult Link from these games that is consistent in design from the art in the manual to the game itself. Thankfully, the developers of the 3DS remake of this game, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D, did fix this by giving both models the baldric. Wind Waker was a huge turning point in the Zelda series in terms of art style, and Link represents this fantastically. He has a very simple design using only the most basic attributes, but the developers combated the simpleness by making him the most expressive design yet. The face on this design within the game is made of various textures layered on top of each other, with a selection of different states of expression to allow for lots of character to flow through, as opposed to when the face is modelled onto the model where there are fairly limited ways you can show facial expressions. Additionally, the choice to make this Link a child fits the tone of the game a lot better than if he was an adult, as a child Link generally means that the game will be fairly lighthearted for most of its runtime. This is by far the art style that is most used in other Zelda games, partially due to how simple it is and how well it works to show a compelling Zelda narrative, but also to show expressiveness within Link. Twilight Princess was made as a response to the fact that fans were generally upset over the art style change from Wind Waker, so the developers went for a more serious game, and that is represented within Link. Link in this game features a lot of similar qualities to the adult design from Ocarina of Time, which signifies the similar dark tone the game is going for, and could potentially also foreshadow the reveal that this Link is a direct descendant of the one from Ocarina of Time, as well as the one who teaches Link new moves in this game. The design of Link in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom not only fits the tone of both games, but is also a lot different from any other in the franchise. Most of the common attributes in all the other Link designs we've covered today are gone, like the green tunic and hat. This represents a brand new era of the franchise. These games are structured far more differently than any other, being massive open worlds you can do anything in any order in, as opposed to the mostly linear styled games of before. I sincerely doubt that this design of Link would be possible to represent via pixel art way back on the NES with the very first entry. Yusuke Nakano, the main character illustrator for Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and Twilight Princess, did a fantastic job at making extremely well-made drawings of these characters for each of the games he's worked for. The drawings he's done are some of the most recognizable drawings of these characters, so I have to applaud him for making these iconic images. I interviewed someone who knows a good deal about character design to see what they think these character designs represent about the games they appear in.
Why do you think the designers chose to make the character design of Link in The Legend of Zelda in 1986 so simple? I have to say, given the technology that was around at the time, it wasn't a particularly simple character, really. There was quite a lot of work went into colour depth and sort of directional recognition. I think for where we were at in 1986, it's actually a relatively kind of complex character to be running on a home console. You've got to remember this is an era where video arcades were a big thing, and people used to go to arcades to play games because the hardware could run more complex stuff. The things that we were playing at home, not so much so. So given what home consoles were capable of then, I'd say that it's about right for the generation when it came out. How well do you think they adapted the design, to be more expressive via Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask? We're starting to, from the looks of it, get into very, very early 3D polygonal stuff at this point. I remember playing Ocarina of Time and being absolutely bowled over by the fact that we could walk around a 3D environment, even though it was quite sparse. It wasn't particularly well populated, and it was very, very basic. But what they did do is they had the option to be able to kind of put a matte, put a texture over the top of the shape of Link's head, so you could swap out expressions a little bit, and that seems so simple now and incredibly basic, but at the time that was quite a big deal. Why do you think the Wind Waker design and art style is the most frequently used throughout the series? I think it's a distillation of Link. I think if you take kind of a sliding scale from the most simple Link to the most complicated Link, I think that's the point where they really sort of managed to settle on stuff in a way where he was iconic. You can tell from a great distance, which obviously in Wind Waker we had to do sometimes. So the kind of tunic design with the separate sleeves to it, the kind of cut-off belt, all those little things there, they just went to make a style that you could see at scale, at distance, and you knew exactly who it was. How well do you think they responded to the disappointment of the design from Wind Waker with the design from Twilight Princess? There's obviously another technological jump at this point, both in terms of where we were at in history and also the complexity of the machinery from the looks of it that was running it. There's a little bit more shading, it's obviously capable of acting a little bit more, it's just a little bit grimier. It looks like a character that could actually get physically dirty in the world it inhabits. How well do you think they evolved the design of Link with the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom designs? Which design is your personal favourite? The Breath of the Wild character, I think, is a fantastic looking one. That sort of generation of Link, we've got this lovely kind of cell shading look to it. It starts to look much more anime specific. There's a huge Hayao Miyazaki kind of influence to it, or anime more broadly for that matter. And then if we take that photo and look at him in Tears of the Kingdom, which I'm playing sort of fairly intensively at the moment, the single biggest thing that stands out about Link between the two of those, notwithstanding he's got a different arm in it, is the complexity of his movements. There's a load of extra stuff in the run and jump and walk and climb and fall cycles that he's got. It's a fantastic version of the character.
After learning all this information about how character design works, I created my own attempt at making a brand new design of Link using similar concepts shown here. In conclusion, each design of Link from each game, no matter how distinct or different they are from all others, effectively represents the tone and style the game is going for. Each design represents, well, the legends being told throughout these games. The great thing about all these different designs is that everyone can have their own personal favourite design, with none being a clear favourite. Thank you for watching this documentary.